Okay, already as we are running short of time, and that's the best part, when you're on the end of the speaking slot, you can just sum up a lot of things. Firstly, I would like to thank Vishal and Nitin, Ashish, and Mr. Shastri. They have covered most of the facts which I would like to cover, but I would just like to supplement their thoughts because in forensics, as all of us those have actively worked on live cases. Like for me, for last 2 decades, yes, I have worked in forensics, but mostly in the law enforcement domain. And for the last few years, like, I'm working, you can say, in some kind of a corporate domain. And for last 5, 6 months after my retirement, I am into proper corporate environment. So with that as a backdrop, let me tell you that 70%, this is not a calculated figure, but 70% time in forensics we fail and 34% time we succeed. I would like to just add on to each one of the speaker who spoke before me, like Mr. Shastri said about ransomware, and I totally agree with him when he says that the crux nowadays is more about network forensics. If you don't have the capability of network forensics, you're not there. I would like to add one more statement to that, since that topic, my topic is on smart cities. In addition to network forensics, which is much, much, much important, I also say cloud forensics also plays a very important role. Right, because everything with the IoT devices coming into play, everything is going through the network to the cloud. So that is how smart cities will affect the forensics in the near future. Then coming on to Nitin also covered a wide range and of course of chip off and other kinds of technologies, ISP. And then he said chip off technology may not work in near future because some devices may support. So it's better you go to JTAG or ISP. Again, I come to there with correlating with my topic, that when IoT and IoT will be, or Industry 4.0 will be working, in that scenario, again I say only maybe to some extent JTAG and ISP will work in addition to the network and the cloud forensic aspect. So when we speak about smart cities, everyone knows what smart city is because we are actually sharing the resources, making their lives more simpler, and we are getting increased interconnection and information sharing. And we are using the physical infrastructure which is there in a more efficient manner so that everyone use it and in a secure manner, I'll put it that way, right? So you have a lot of services which are being, or solutions which are being provided or which are to be provided in a smart city kind of environment. For example, let me say if it is on the screen, it can, okay, it's not visible. So basically it may be you can say a smart vehicle management system or smart parking kind of a scenario. I have a screenshot of the, you can say Indian government smart city portal, right? See the various initiatives which have been displayed and some initiatives which have already been implemented, right? Some initiative, like if you see there's like smart water meter data solution has been implemented. In some places, you can say land records have been digitized. In some places, there's some kind of, digitization or automation which has been already carried out in the way to meet the smart city kind of environment. Just a small, although it's an old example, but somewhere in 2016, we had a first or one of its attack in kind of a smart city kind of environment, in which there was a distributed denial of service. Here in smart city, availability is the most important thing. So distributed denial of service, or you can just block a service or disrupt a service. So that is one of the most important, you can say, threat vector, which will be used to actually disrupt this particular kind of environment. And in this case, you say heating, you can say heating devices were closed. One more important aspect nowadays, or there have been cases of smart cities, smart meters or smart grids being compromised, or infections, or you can say malicious lateral movement, what we were just referring to, happening with the help of smart meters, because they are updating themselves from one meter updates the other meter. So the content, you can say the extent of, you can say, lateral movement, because of the smart city kind of whatever technology and whatever architecture is going to be implemented, it will play a very important role. There was an attack even in Germany, and again, the BAS, the building automation system, was infected, and it was out. Most of the, you can say, over 100 odd devices were out. So there are nowadays case studies which are there, which reveal that there are attacks on cyber security kind of environment. In India, at least, you'll not, as on date, you might not find a full-fledged kind of a cyber security, smart city, sorry. So, but there are few reports which have come up. One of the reports says that 40% of systems of smart buildings were, attacked. right? But out of that, only 26% came from the internet attacks, and most of them means like 10% came from the storage, 10% came from phishing links, 10% came from shared folder. So you can say the attacks which are possible or which may come in case of this kind of environment may be from different devices. And the most important factor is the IoT. Now, when this is kind of I'll not say it is exact, but this is some look-alike, you can say, diagram. You will have different services, data will be collected, data will be stored at a central place. There will be some computational, you can say, analytics happening on it, and then it will be served to our, the people who are running the government official or city planners as such. So if you see this is one kind of a, you can say, smart city, you can say, architecture, although it is very sketchy. But now coming on to legal challenges, already Vishal has mentioned something from the US perspective when he's speaking of expert witness, but legal challenges may be covered in the moot court also. But yes, we have a lot of issues when it comes to legality and forensics and smart cities, and when we speak of networks. Now let me tell you, when I just intentionally mentioned my experience of 20 years in the law enforcement, the reason why I mentioned this was because till date only dead forensics was considered as a main, you can say, forensics activity. Network forensics was never considered as an activity. Only it came into place only when there was an incident response which was happening, right? So regarding legal aspect, it will be covered later. Law, privacy, yes, if where the forensic data collection is happening, whether it's over a network as we mentioned, or if you can say the CCTV coverage over city, privacy will be challenged. We will have to, as a forensicators, we will have to address this particular issue. How are we going to go about it? What will be the law supporting it? So all this, I always call, or every one of us knows, forensics is a techno-legal field. You have to be technically sound and legally update. Then only you will be able to address a particular issue in this particular domain. So a lot of common threats, just skipping this, spoofing, tampering may happen. In an IR kind of a scenario, this is a tentative block. There may be some incident handling which is required where you are capturing the incident, again, in any of the form, in form of network traffic or in the form of some, you can say, containers and some kind of cloud, or in some kind of, if there's a physical infra, that, and extraction, processing, data analysis, and data intelligence. So this is one slide. Also, of course, I will rush through this, but there are a lot of kinds of logs which will be collected, because the number of facilities which will be available in a smart city kind of environment, it is going to be a very complex architecture from the forensic or investigative point of view, right? So there's no one single standard model which can be applicable in the smart city environment, because the variety of models, various operating systems which will be running. Like if it's an industry 4.0, there will be some robot for operating system which will be running, which most of us may be not knowing what it is, right? So there is a lot of, you can say, firmwares. Since IoT is involved and other devices involved, there will be firmwares which will be there. I've just kept it ... but of course Ashish covered this particular thing and Nitin covered it, because once we are going to get into forensic angle, whether we'll go to the firmware level kind of forensics, is it possible for us in a smart city kind of environment? That we'll have to think, right? But I would like to flash few slides about, say, if it's a smart grid. Smart grid, you have some security threats, you have some data sources, you have some forensic data which has to be collected, the level of its requirement, and what are the challenges. There may be protocol vulnerabilities which are due to communication gateways. So what do we require? We look at communication logs. There are a lot of logs which will be required, but large volume of data analysis, how we are going to resolve that. Similarly, coming into privacy, when we go to industrial control system or industry 4.0, which will also be a part of that smart city environment. So in that, your usage log, privacy will be a concern. Eavesdropping, where the smart applications will be running. So there are a lot, in a smart grid kind of a scenario, there are a lot of security threats, source, and forensic data requirement. So how are we going to meet that kind of requirement? That has to be thought over. This is actual photographs of a center of excellence for smart grids in Vijayawada, Mumbai. I visited there, and Dr. Kazi, maybe he's one of the speakers. So we were discussing on how we can actually implement forensic readiness or forensic frameworks in this kind of environment, and so that we can be able to collect some data. So although we are working on this kind of environment, but you will have so many you can say cyber physical systems involved in this kind of a scenario, that it will become very difficult. Now coming on to building automation system, I just gave you two examples which are happening, and this nowadays buildings or infra which is coming, even the government buildings which are coming on, they have this. Okay, I'll just finish in 1 minute. Okay, I'll just rush through. So regarding to UAVs, again, because UAVs are part of this, I had written a paper on Industry 4.0. In that, UAVs and other aspects, robots which were being used were a part of that particular paper. I will just surely share it with the organizer. Coming on to smart vehicles, so you see in every particular, you can say service or a facility being provided, you will have security threat, data source and forensic requirement. And it is so huge that we have to categorize it, right? We have to categorize it. So what kind of, you can say, skill set and infra will be required to address this kind of forensic solutions is a thing to ponder. Now coming on to cloud, as I mentioned, after Dr. Shastri mentioned about network, I emphasize in smart city environment, in addition to network, cloud is very important. These two has to go hand in hand. This is about cloud forensics. IoT devices, yes, IoT devices are basically, as you know, they don't have any storage capability. So everything has to be pushed out. So how can this be implemented? That has to be seen. I'll share this presentation. Then regarding, okay, coming on to the evidence cycle, this is about Industry 4.0. There will be a lot of, cloud computing, IIoT, big data analytics, which is happening on that. And this I speak of robot operating system, which is part of the Industry 4.0. So how are we going to carry out forensics on this kind of systems? Coming on to the smart factory kind of environment where you will have, different kind of layers, human machine interface. So in short, what I want to tell you here to sum up, because I've been just told to finish it. When we are addressing the smart city kind of environment from the forensic perspective, we have to include all the knowledge which we have on other, you can say, sub branches of forensics, and we have to club it together. And we have to get some kind of a solutions. But we will require much more support of technology, much more support of people with higher skill sets, and much more support of, you can say, the law. Because law and the legal perspective is very important. And I think the next topic or next, you can say, the interaction is on the moot courts, or I think there's one more speaker, sorry, after that. So thank you. Within the stipulated time given to me, I've tried to give my perspective about smart city forensics and some challenges. I will share the presentations. It can be given to the whoever requires. Thank you very much.